All right, gentlemen. Well, I can't believe that
Scrooge over there.
in just
$10?
over a month, the
Okay,
Canadian
20.
Premier League season is actually going to start. So, what we're going to do now is on every show, we're going to take a look at a CPL team, focus on one in particular every show, and get you ready for the CPL season heading into year number 5. Very exciting. Remember, now you get awarded for being the regular season champs. This is very exciting as things continue to progress with this league. And let's begin. Let's go from west to east. So let's begin with Pacific. And let's take a look at some of their key additions and subtractions to their roster. Guys, they actually lost a lot of defenders. Dixon, leader, gone. Bustos as well, a really big face for this team, gone. But when you look at some of their big signings, one in particular, because he literally is a big man, but he can score goals, of course, is Easton Ongaro. Ollie, I'm going to come to you right now, and maybe just let's talk a little bit about the additions and subtractions. Right? Do you think this is a good thing for Pacific? Do you think they've done enough to fill some of the players who have left?
Open question, I think. I think it's a really interesting roster and a really interesting team. Ongaro is proven goals. Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about him too much. He'll deliver, I think, as he always has done in the CPL. It's elsewhere though. I think, particularly in midfields, like they've brought in a lot of players who I like. I think are intriguing young players that maybe haven't fulfilled their full potential yet. Pierre Lamoth is one. I don't think Halifax necessarily got the best out of him, but I think there's ability there. Stephen Yates is another one who, when he first came in at TFC2, I saw a bit of him and I thought he was a pretty gifted young player. He could be interesting. That midfield area, you have Sean Young as well, obviously coming back. I think there's players with real potential in there. It's just a case of, will we see it? Will it be delivered this season? And will it be enough to replace, the likes of Dixon going out and Bustos in a wing role as well? So that to me is kind of the interesting question about this team. But I think Ongaro will come back into the league and score, like I said, and defensively, like Didic, Dadaluk, Meir Jaguar, that's a good unit. So kind of rests on how that midfield pans out for me.
Mm-hmm. How you feeling, Jordan?
Ollie, smart guy, because what I wanted to focus on was the midfield. And just getting the balance right. We talked about yesterday about balance in the midfield. And for me, Lamoth, Toussaint, and Sean Young, all great young ballers that I feel like would do well in this league and have done well in their own right. But they're all kind of similar players. You still need someone, a Marcos Bustos type, to get on the ball, maybe in tight areas and create. And I just don't know who that person is for Pacific. You know that Ongaro is gonna score some goals if he gets the right service. But in terms of how they're gonna attack and how they're gonna use all the pieces that they have, that's just still a question mark for me. But we'll see.
Honestly, Pacific will have never looked as good as they're going to look this season.
Whoa.
And for one significant reason, because they're taking down the pole, ladies and gentlemen. The pole comes down, the proper angle. They are going to be looking great on camera. That's the biggest off-field addition through subtraction that you can have. Bye-bye, pole, and proper camera angles. At what's turned into a really good stadium with a really good atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to that. Look, for me, their questions, like bringing back Manny Aparicio, as long as he's happy and focused and stays on the field and isn't injured or isn't suspended. Like, he missed so many games last year, but when he's on the field, true difference maker. I like Jordan. I like that midfield. Like them at the back. They're back 3, 4, 5. They got some depth there as well. I think they're good defensively. It's at the goalkeeping position. Gazdov is 19. Basket was up and down with Halifax. He's 21. As well as in attack, Ongaro, we'll see what he looks like when he comes back to the Canadian Premier League, plays in a different team. With him and Didic on set pieces, I think they can do some damage because those two players are big boys. But outside of Josh Hurd, you have a lot of questions. Like, who replaces Bustos? There's a lot of young players there. Reed comes in, he's 23, but everyone else is like 19, 20, 21. There's a lot of inexperience. So if Merriman can find a player that fits, provides that balance, is able to step up in one of those roles, I think Pacific could be absolutely in contention this season.
So I'll come right back at you then, Gareth. Do you think this is a team that can remain at the top of the table? Like, can that transition be smooth, or do you think there is going to be a drop-off?
it's tough because I think they're, Forge is bringing back 19 players. It's not just what Pacific does in a vacuum, it's how everyone else fares. The Cavalry looks like they're going to be a strong team. What does a new Halifax team looks like? But yes, they should be top half of the table battling for playoff positioning again this season. I think that James Merriman has elected to go away from some players. Perhaps this team, because he's had some more time to work with them after Pamaduka. Perhaps he's more on the same page with his players and he knows what to expect of them a little bit more. I think that that's going to be one of the storylines, as well as how he gets on with this squad as well, and whether he can bring out the best of them. But on paper, yes, this team should be top half of the table.
Do you agree with that, Jordan?
I think on paper, yes, but I also think just the culture that they've created with Pamaduka being there and what James Merriman has done as well. It's just like, there's a winning culture there. When I look at Valor FC, York United, Halifax, there's just been a lot of turnover. So naturally, that's a question mark. Because within this league, it's not necessarily about your best 11. I keep preaching it, but it's about your squad. It's about your 18th, 19th player, how they can contribute. Pacific finds a way every season to get the best out of their players and make it in the top half. So to say that this is a season that they might slip, I just couldn't say that with confidence.
Ollie?
Yeah, look, what I tend to look for with teams at the start of every season is, who do I think has a strong core of domestic players who are proven and you know what you'll get out of them, right? And I look down the spine of this team again: Didic, Mejiger, Aparicio, Ongaro. That's a good place to start if you're building a playoff team for me. So I'd be surprised if they're not up there again. There are a couple of positions which are a little bit, again, kind of question marks just based on the youth that they're going to put in. Gareth mentioned goalkeeper, and again, the midfield around Aparicio, I think, to a certain extent as well. But I like the kind of the foundation of what they've got, and certainly getting Manny back is just a huge difference maker to what their offseason looks like.
Yeah, they've always been a top 4 team, even in that bubble in 2020. They made the Final Four. This is a team that's always been a contender, right? So we'll see if they can continue to do that with their additions and their subtractions. And let's get back to one of those big additions, of course, in Easton Ongaro. So he makes his return to the CPL. Do you think he can bring enough offense, though, Ollie, to offset what they're going to, just lose in general? Yes, Bustos is gone, but there was always some, great chemistry as well with Bustos and Diaz. We saw that in the past. And, is Easton Ongaro the answer? Do you think that's too much to put just on the shoulders of one player? How do you see that offense even playing out?
I think he should be a good fit, to be honest with you. And if you were, I don't know if you can gamble on top scorers in the CPL, if that market exists. But if you were looking for
that market exists. Come on, are
Does
you
it?
new? Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, I'll have a look then, because I think Easton Ongaro is a decent choice. Like, I just think the way Pacific play will really suit him. They get the ball into wide areas a lot, get a lot of service into the box. They play with real pace. They'll be able to spring him in behind. I think, as you can see here, he's very good at as well. He's not just a player who's aerially dominant. He's good with his feet. I think it should be a great fit in terms of the way James Merriman likes his teams to play and the way Ongaro gets his goals.
And remember, things fell off last season for Pacific, Andy, once they lost Guero Diaz. They had no focal point of that attack. So he should be able to pick up where Diaz left off. Different players, different profiles, but that's okay. He should get enough service with players like Aparicio in behind. I think there's enough in this team.
People talk about, but just to put a bow on things, people talk about the loss of Marco Bustos. I thought he was a phenomenal player. The biggest loss was Diaz, because no one was putting up numbers and scoring and being that threat. And he was, for me, the best striker last season. Just a threat, very smart, very clever, a guy that could disappear for moments in a game, but knew exactly where to be at the right time. And that killer instinct is what you need. I think Easton Ongaro has that. To what degree, we're about to see, but he had 25 goals for FC Edmonton in a 2-year span and like 55 appearances, which is great. I'm not the best mathematician. That's nearly a goal every 2 games. Yes. So
don't look at me.
We honestly, I won't look at you for spelling, Andy, because we talked about the Eagles before.
The Eagles.
I thought maybe math was your thing, but yeah, I'm super excited for Easton Ongaro in this season, because I know I can expect that he'll be banging in some goals.
And I want to get inside his head. Maybe this is where we have a special sit down with Easton Ongaro, because I do wonder where his mind is right now. There's been a lot that's just been happened, right? We know what's happened with FC Edmonton. This is a team that now, as of right now, no longer exists in the CPL, which is very sad given that the Eddie's history and that it's gone. He was part of that culture for a while. Did he always know? Did he always feel? Did he feel what was going on behind the scenes? I can't imagine how easy that is for a player. Then he gets opportunity elsewhere, gets that experience. He's exposed to different environments. Now he comes back. So where is his thinking? Where is his motivation? Especially when you're coming to a team like Pacific, as we all just mentioned, has always been a contender. They are a champion as well. They've done well in the Canadian Championship a couple of years back. Does that change his motivation? I mean, and I know Jordan, as a player, as a pro, sometimes it shouldn't matter. You go out, you give your best no matter what. But he had to have been privy, I would think, to a lot of things that were happening with Edmonton. This has to feel like a fresh start too for him.
Yeah, I think what, I don't know him personally, but I think just for strikers, you see how quick your playing career could be. I know he's had a stint in Denmark and in Romania. I think he knows that, hey, buckling down this season, you could just move. Like, I'm not saying that he came to Pacific to go and move, but I'm just saying that's the nature of the game. It's like, if you bang in goals, if you stay motivated, if you stay committed, and you're about your business and you're about being dominant in the box, like, you make moves. That's just what it is. Everyone wants goal scorers. Everyone wants someone that's in their 20s, that's taking care of business week in and week out, and then moves could be made. So I think he's coming to Pacific after being at FC Edmonton and going to Denmark and Romania and whatnot. He's coming back saying, hey, I know how easy it is to move. I just have to take care of my business.